Welcome to Weekly Open. I'm Brian. We have Cred and Don both on the line today. We are back for the once a month Weekly Open, new monthly. Sell in May and go away, or shall we continue the run up? I think Don has some opinions. I think Cred is ambivalent, and I'm going to try to counter trade Don and lose. If you need the 30-second version of the show, I think that might be it. But let's see how it actually goes. Don, how you doing, buddy?
Good. How are you? I mean, you went through a lot in the last few weeks.
Listen, you don't have to pet me before you kill me. Cred, what's up?
Yeah, not much. I've missed you guys, and I'm sure I've missed some of the audience, not all. But yeah, Don was threatening us with bearish propaganda before the show even started, so I'm looking forward to hearing what that is. I have a rough understanding, but him being a bull wasn't particularly popular at the lows, and so I wonder what arguments he brings this time up. I think it's going to have something to do with meme coins, given we know how much Don just loves altcoins, as the name would suggest, Don Alt. But I'll let him speak for himself. Ambivalence on my side, Ledger, as without the 10-year candle close, I can't have strong views. So just a few more years left now.
It's so soon. It'll be so soon. Yeah, and I just think this is all noise. So I'm bullish for a bit. I went on Bankless and I went like super turbo hard, positive ETH, positive BTC. Negative pretty much everything else, and I don't know. I think crypto is a great asset. I think the S&P 500 is a pretty good asset, and gold's a pretty good asset, and everything else sucks. So that's my TLDR. Cred. We'll have to get to the news in a minute, but first, Don, tell me why you flipped from the good team to the bad team.
I mean, because price went up a lot. I mean, I bought the lows, right? I mean, I got to buy just below 16K. I got to sell just above 30K. I mean, that's a decent trade for me. And the reason was basically because, I mean, there's a few reasons for it, right? The big one is that we're getting close to high time frame resistance, right? On the monthly, we didn't quite make it. But on the weekly time frame, if you look, we actually ran into the lows of the prior consolidation that we had here, right? Like that's pretty much the area where you'd expect the biggest resistance. Because if you have a range and you break it to the downside, right? I mean, this is where bears are going to try to break it down because at the end of the day, if the bulls can push it back up, it just starts looking really, really good, and you can
Okay, so you have what you're saying is you have a tight stop take profit scenario here, basically.
Oh, I mean, yes. I mean, also I think any bear that's been shorting this that isn't shorting right now is a little bit stupid, I think, because I mean this is max risk reward, right? This is exactly the same setup that I had at the bottom, just at the top. I think if you're shorting this, more often than not, you're gonna make money. I'm not shorting it. I don't really I'm not bearish enough to short, but I was bearish enough to sell everything basically. And the reason for that is pretty simple. I think we just hit the bottom of the prior range.
No, don't lie. Don't lie. The reason you sold everything is because you're buying a castle.
I mean, also, no, but I mean,
which you tweeted publicly. It's not just something that you.
No, I'm thinking about it, but I'm not. It's not like I'm gonna.
And the address is. No, I'm joking.
Yeah.
No, but I'm thinking about it. But anyway, that actually came after taking profit, so it's.
I have some experience staying in castles. If you need, customer reports about what makes an attractive castle.
Oh yeah, please.
We can. I have experience in storming them in 2D video games. So I'm sure that's just as helpful, you dickheads.
I think between the three of us, we've got this castle market cornered.
Oh yeah, and I think it's pretty cool, honestly. But I don't think it fits into this show. But we can. Okay. I mean, if you guys want to talk about castles,
hey, that's a real moat. Am I
right? No, but anyway, we hit the bottom of the range. I think that's the best place to short. It's the best place to take profit. And honestly, we hit it while people were screaming for old season, right? Quite crazy to me that we it took until 30K until people kind of got this stupid again. Basically, like buying altcoins into Bitcoin resistance didn't really seem like a good idea. At the end of the day, like it nuked big time. Like the altcoins nuked much bigger than Bitcoin did, right? So that kind of played out. But that tells me that the speculation was basically back on, right? And we got that right into that resistance area. Like this all to me, like this area is where the market makes its decision, right? And if you have that on Bitcoin and you have the altcoins have kind of euphoric sentiment, they didn't even go up that much. It's just the sentiment flip was kind of something to see, and like that combined with where we were in the market was just enough for me to kind of sell. And
I have an idea then.
yeah, and then we kind of nuked right after. Like I sold 30.3 or something on average.
The tip of the wick.
No, the tip of the wick was 31, I think, or almost 31. But I got close enough.
$700 off. Come on.
Yeah, I could have done better. But basically, I sold and it nuked, and now it's kind of come back into that resistance. I mean, which I think is basically like if you're shorting, like if you were looking for short and you got anywhere close to 30K with a stop loss above 31, I mean, that's pretty damn good. And that's one that you can keep. Basically with the same invalidation. It's very tight and it's very nice setup. It's basically the same, like I said, as we had at the bottom. And if it goes up, I think you're going to have much better setups higher up. But I don't think it will. I honestly think it's probably going to bleed out for a while and then maybe go up again. Maybe not. I don't know. But I on the like I would want to buy the supports anyway. But I'm far less bullish now than I was.
Okay.
Basically, I'm bearish now, I would say.
In honor of this crypto castle, which we are debating in today, I propose that I counter your petition with my own, and then King Cred shall judge us in our arguments.
Yeah, I have no conflict of interest whatsoever. You're right.
All right. Okay, so here's why what you said doesn't really matter that much, which is
fighting words.
Just the downside is not that far. Like below 26, I think it gets maybe a little dicey. Below 24, it gets like bad. But I think there's a willingness to buy in between, and most of this is noise. And the speculative mania that you highlight was like peasant level mania. The outer gates of the castle have not even been breached. With the mania. This is like 17 people, scam pumping something called PayPay Coin, and all of the alts are completely wrecked. This is basically a nothing but Bitcoin and ETH, maybe limited ETH rally, mostly Bitcoin, at the same time that earnings have looked fantastic for big tech and stuff. And there's very little weakness there. There's very little evidence that that there's like this overstimulation of broad markets or an umbrella effect on crypto markets. There's one or two coins that you like to point at to say that the speculative mania is too high, and it's just not well supported elsewhere, because largely this was a Bitcoin move, and even ETH BTC ratios, went to the bottom of the range, and everything else is completely wrecked, whether you're looking at it versus BTC or ETH. Meanwhile, there's just not very many good assets in the world to own, and BTC still looks really good. So if you get a dip, it's a dip worth buying. Many people, I think, will want to do so. And we're above all of my favorite trend averages and whatnot. And I think we have space above, and I'd like to see your invalidation occur.
Honestly, I don't actually disagree with much of what you said. It all depends kind of what viewpoint you are. Basically, like if you look at it as a bear market rally, which it looks like to me, then it's like you don't really need like the typical euphoria at the top where everyone just YOLOs all their net worth into altcoins. What we had is basically enough because the market is that dead. But if you're like, okay, this is basically, okay, we're in the process of bottoming, then it's a different situation. I'm not entirely sure. I honestly think 16K is probably the bottom, but I think there's a good chance we go back to 20K, which is
So like a really deep test of the lows.
Yes. So I think like 20K.
What is the top of that red box that you've got there? That's the 24K region. And then what's the bottom of the red
and
box?
that's like 21. But I think we could undercut it. I think we could do something like this, rally into it, reject, and then actually just go.
I wouldn't disagree that would make for a tough challenge for bulls, but I think the bulls have had many tough challenges, and it's more of an easy layup for the perpetual bears. And I think there's an appetite for the bears to just get absolutely obliterated and blown out, take it to the bull market zone, and then do what you just said. Then test it back down towards the bottom, like towards where we are now. So do exactly what you're talking about, just from higher.
I mean, possible, but I don't know.
At that point, it's kind of a distinction without a difference, right? Because then
sure it is. I'm not believing. I don't believe in new highs. I don't believe in price exploration, and that's what people will be calling for at that point. And I'm firm into the 2024 at the very earliest for new highs, personally.
So you're like one green candle away from fully agreeing with what Don's saying, essentially.
Yeah,
because if it pushes into that mid-30s point,
like 25 to 40% or something.
Ooh, I mean, that's probably a bit on the high side if we're talking about the same, like, run into 30 and get stonewalled type of thing. Like zoomed out, bigger picture. Sort of, if your backdrop is some version of a bear market rally or whatever else, then, if you take a really zoomed out point of view, forget the specific levels. It's like 30K-ish BTC, 2K-ish ETH. We've had the staking, unstaking, whatever, ETH sell the news type of drama, and then meme coins go up a lot. And it's sort of like, at least I think that's why it's sort of Don's labeled it as an indecision zone, because that's where you're just going to get your slowdown, and the obvious space for momentum continuation is like not as clear anymore. Like between 24 and 30, I think that was fairly clear in terms of space. Between like 30 and like 34, that whole area, I just like that bet a lot less. I think momentum continuation setups are really good when they happen between levels. But when it starts pushing into levels and you're looking for momentum continuation in the same direction, it gets pretty fucking murky and tricky. The S&P looks good. I'll give you that much. Especially on the monthly, that looks like a honest attempt at a breakout is maybe one way to describe it. But then gold also looks kind of stuffed at the range high. And then just in general, as far as kind of macro guidance go, most kind of smart people are expecting things to slow down for the second half of the year.
Deflationary is bullish or bearish now? I can't keep up.
Yeah, I can't either. Big flip, no flip, pancake flip, McDonald's, whatever. Like it's really hard to keep up with narratively. But in general, the market's sort of cared less about macro stuff up until this point. I don't think that's gone away forever. I'd be reluctant to say, oh, well, PCI, FOMC, whatever, inflation's dead. No one cares. Macro's a dud. Let's just trade crypto. I don't think we're quite there yet, but the market's less sensitive to it. All of that to say is I took a trade on the hourly time frame, got stopped out, so I have nothing else to add. Thank you.
Oh, come on. So I know y'all don't listen to other things that I say, and I don't blame you. I don't listen to other things you say either, so that I can.
Don, do you feel attacked right now? Hold on.
Well, I don't listen to your other stuff so that we can enjoy our conversations when we have.
Oh, nice save, nice save. Okay, cool, fine.
But this is the time frame when I was talking to the land of ETH maximalists and talking to David and Ryan from Bankless. This was basically the time frame that I told people, just get out of this thing. Just don't even pay attention to this time frame, because all it wants to do is make you lose money. And people who are smarter than you and machines who are smarter than you are going to outperform you. But you get into the higher time frames and you catch the big picture. In the long scheme of things, even if you get your dip to 24, Don, and you make another castle, like, it doesn't really matter for your layman out there who thinks, I don't know if the lows are in. So if you think the lows are in, then, every coin below 20K is good. Every coin below 25K is good. And that's the scary scenario, right? Like we consolidate here for 5 weeks, which I think is actually quite likely, then all is well, carry on with life. There's nothing to be bothered by. Go touch grass, whatever you do in the summer. Sell in May and go away, or hold in May, and I need ChatGPT to rhyme for me. Thoughts?
I mean,
33K by July, Ledger.
33K by July. That's all that actually matters to me.
I mean, to me, it's very likely that we're actually going to spend like the next 6 to 12 months between
Crabbing.
30 and 20K. So
30 and 20.
Yes. So I think there's a good chance that if you're leverage trading at all, without kind of being completely ambivalent of whether it's going to go up or down, I think you're going to lose money. I think we are, like you said, in a period of time where leverage traders are going to get blown the fuck out, both sides, over and over and over again. The best kind of example that you can talk about is the 1 hour time frame. I mean, this is a fucking atrocity, right? I mean, this is just not a chart.
This is the only trade Cred took, and both of us are just like, Cred, get out
Thanks
of
for
there.
playing, kids.
No, but I
here
mean,
all
like,
week.
it's basically, it's been nice until it hit 30K, right? And then it took out these highs, traded above it, came back below it, and ever since then it's been shit, right? Like that's been kind of like how it's been trading, straight down, straight up, straight down, straight up.
I lost
Consolidation.
organs in that time frame. But
Yes, and people have been trading this, right? And you see this in the open interest. It gets wiped left, right, and center. Like people are trying to get on the trend. I don't think you're gonna get much, honestly. So that's kind of my going rate. Like I think there's gonna be a lot of chop. So if you're okay with that, and I'm saying this at daily support, by the way, like this is actually quite a nice level. So if that holds, looks a little bit better. But then again, you're trading into a weekly bearish setup. So it's kind of like, it's a shitty one, even on that, because you have kind of timeframes disagreeing with each other. But in general, like I think this is going to be shitty. And if you're fine with holding through shitty for a year, you're probably going to be okay. I just don't want to be stuck in shitty for a year. So I was like, okay, I almost took a 2x on Bitcoin, made a little bit less on a few coins, and that's enough for me. I don't need to kind of risk giving that back, or like most of this, because let's be real, like if you kind of take if you take that trade, right, from 16K all the way to 30K, if it goes back to 20, you give back more than half, like quite a bit more than half of what you made. And I'm not willing to do that, because to be quite frank, like I bought way too much at 16K. And I was like, I was stressed the entire time.
I think this is completely fair, because you are taking chips off the table from a gigantic win. But if someone's in accumulation mode and has been, and they're kind of rolling slow, there's no real great evidence that just says like, stop, like sell it all, never accumulate again, you know, like wait till later.
Yeah.
Because
I mean,
if it busts up, then you've failed at following your own plan, you know, that kind of thing.
Oh, that I agree with. Like I generally don't think like if you're a long-term holder, 16K is probably the bottom, right? I just figured out during the last few years that I'm terrible at long-term holding. Every time like it hits something that I don't, or like every time it shows weakness, I'm like, I don't want to hold this shit. Like it's gonna go down like 50%, and I don't want to be in it during that time. But overall, like if you zoom out enough, right, like holding has been pretty good for everyone that has been doing it. So I'm not hating at it at all. I think it's a decent area to accumulate. I think if it goes the way I think it might, you're gonna have a year to buy. It's gonna be quite nice. But I mean, it always can't just melt up. It's crypto after all.
Yeah. I tend to think there, depending on what your current allocation is and what your strategy would be, there's probably some options plays that might be attractive here for folks that, and actually I found, you know, if you just use BITO, BITO, it's not perfect, but for someone like me that's in the US, it's easy, just use it on regular markets, and you can have kind of a Bitcoin futures options play. That's good enough relative to like what you get more natively with Deribit. So if you were to look at options plays, if you stay allocated, then you could either protect yourself via puts, or you could like sell a strangle, which means you think it's going to crab. and maybe make some extra money while allocated. If you're unallocated, maybe you could buy some longer dated calls or something in case it melts up, you have upside. Maybe those are good strategies to reduce your risks if you're just looking at kind of BTC centric plays. Most of our audience are probably in the casino and we'll ignore that completely. But
for me,
brothers.
I mean, for me, I mean, I've been like, in general, like options and leverage trading both is like a little bit of a difficult topic in Germany. So I've been playing around with leverage just for fun in the last 4 months. And if I tell you how much percentage of what I made I need to pay in taxes,
it'll hurt.
Oh yeah. It's quite a bit more than 50%.
But guess what? They'll fix your sprained ankle in 3 months.
No, it's actually like I mean, it's
I'm
basically you can avoid all of that, obviously, but I'm just not willing to kind of like make a business and then run it through the business, do all the paperwork. Like, fuck no. I'd just rather have it like pretty straightforward. So for me, it's just like I'm buying spot, I'm selling spot, and that's it. And it's enough for me. So my Giga Brain days, where I like a couple of years back, where I started reading into options, I was like, oh, this is like quite cool, but so complicated. Like
if you borrow using on-chain collateral, does it have the same rules, or can it be treated like spot?
No, as long as it's kind of using options or basically CFDs, you kind of.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If you deposit on Aave and borrow and leverage with like 1.3x kind of Degen Spartan style, can you?
It's still problematic. The only way to like, you can actually leverage trade as long as you just use. Or there's a few new contracts that actually allow you to. It's basically the same, but you're trading the spot market instead of like a CBD or a CFD.
Did you say CBD?
Yeah, it's not CBD.
Essential oils.
Yeah, CBD trading, that owes me a lot of money. I'll tell you that.
All right.
But there's ways to go around it.
Yeah.
It's
Welcome
just
to the Crypto Tax podcast, guys. We were talking about derivatives in Germany.
All right, yes. Cred, can you save us from this content?
No, I love it. It's too good. This is the real original stuff. This is what friends gathering around the fucking campfire talk about. Good old tax and castles and German stuff. I did laugh when Don said there are a few topics, like he said derivatives are like a tricky topic to cover in Germany. And I was like, yeah, it's like refugees, World War II, and crypto derivatives. There you go. Just don't go there and you'll be fine. I've got nothing to add really in terms of technical stuff. I mean, the weekly chart is a bit shit. It's slightly choppy. I would have preferred to see a push a bit deeper into like the bottom of the range at like 32, maybe even to the monthly at like 30. What is that? Like 34, 35-ish. That would have been really nice. I don't know if we're going to get it. I think the issue with the monthly is it still looks decent, but like the distance to resistance isn't like too dissimilar to the distance to support on the monthly. We're like right bang in the middle. And, so if you're comfortable giving that back on the monthly swing basis, that's fine. But yeah, that's just like slightly less clear. It could pull back to like legit 20K on the monthly and still look very good and worth buying. That's the issue, right?
And I will say I agree with that. And my monthly model is the same, right? Like the big break at 6K, the big bull market break in 15, the support in COVID, all of that would say sell, walk away, and wait, buy above 32, 33.
Yeah.
Says the same thing. I don't disagree with that. There's not a lot of wiggle room up there. I'm just asking for it. Historically, when I do this is when I get absolutely turbo wrecked with like 50 and 60% downside. We've done this game before.
Man. We have. When Ledger fades his own moving averages, just bad things tend to happen.
It is. It's unbelievable.
That's something I remember very much. That's kind of what the monthly reminds me of. When price just gets away from your trend following moving averages and you kind of measure the distance, like, oh, if it pulled back to this cluster of moving averages, it'd be down, it'd be down like 30%, And so you sort of have to adjust accordingly.
I mean, even the regular market says the same thing. It's like right there at the monthly moving average. It's like it's basically saying This is the right shoulder before societal collapse, or
Fuck off.
or new bull market. You choose.
Or it's the melt up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Really up or really down. Hope you've enjoyed the show, I guess. Yeah, that's how we do it around here.
At least
The
on the
daily
monthly
time frame
basis,
is Don's.
but
Yes, at least
yeah.
on the monthly. I agree. Weekly, pretty much agree with Don. Like I would prefer a deeper push into 30 odd, but at the moment, maybe not on the table. He's just literally drawn one fucking box off of one green candle boy, and that seems to have slowed down the market, which is very depressing. And then the daily, as I also agree there, it's like if you want any argument for the higher time frames having one more push higher, it kind of has to come from the daily time frame, I think. Pretty much based on the level that Don has. We've had a failed breakout above it once. We're now back above it. It's retesting a bit quickly for my liking. Usually these double fake setups move rather quickly. On this occasion, we're right back at the level. I think it's something to do with what Don mentioned, that you've got, yes, it's a good daily setup, but it's into weekly resistance. So time frames disagreeing, kind of just screwing over the market. But also, truth be told, no one really cares about BTC all too much. People cared about ETH. People cared about BTC around the sort of banking narrative. They cared about ETH around the ETH news. Now it's sort of meme coins and Pepe and Arbitrum and Binance Launchpad trading BNB around that, and a bunch of other stuff. Even the legacy correlation news stuff, no one really seems to be giving a shit about. So
that's the most bearish argument there is. In
yeah, sure.
Because I think this is your potential range breakout that is most interesting, whether the price is 20K or 40K for BTC, which is, does Bitcoin dominance really make a push? Because you could have, significant dominance moves and alts get racked, Pepe goes to zero, whatever the flavor of the month is. I don't know any of that, whatever. But like, what if Bitcoin dominance went back to, 58, 60, 70%? Like that's nasty stuff for everybody. When Cred, you just said nobody cares about BTC. Like that's a good way to ruin crypto markets, even if you're not ruining Bitcoin markets. You know what I mean?
Do you remember when that was the last time? Like the last time that happened?
It was
Like
bad.
when Bitcoin, yes, Bitcoin went down a shitload.
Yeah, 2019 and 2020. I mean, none of that was, well, actually, this one, the 2021 was Bitcoin mooning. To clarify, that was Bitcoin tripled in 3 months. So like, you could have that, or this one was Bitcoin getting obliterated from 6 to 3K or whatever. So it really is both.
Yeah, I mean, where you had it like proper, where it was a breakout, was back in March of 2018, where you basically got a Bitcoin, kind of like a fake rally on Bitcoin, and then it returned kind of back to the floor. Like that's where Bitcoin broke out on a dominance chart massively, and it ended up in complete collapse, right? Like Bitcoin to 3K afterwards. So I don't know. Like I think if this goes further, the dominance, it kind of shows how little interest there is, besides like the Bitcoin narrative.
And this is inclusive of stable coins, right? Which also has a lot of interesting narrative component to it, just because if stable coins start going more out of circulation or not, if there's governments fighting over this stuff, which we could expect more of. I think dominance is one of the more interesting, even if it's not charts, just thought processes, right? Like thought exercises.
Yep. So I don't know. We'll see how this goes. I'm not like, I fail to see a world in which anything besides like Bitcoin and ETH goes up for anything besides like a scam pump. Like I think if you're sitting in altcoins, there's a good chance that you're just going to underperform Bitcoin if Bitcoin goes up, and you're going to massively underperform Bitcoin if Bitcoin goes down.
I don't disagree with any of that.
So
I just am not convinced that Bitcoin goes down like that much.
Yes, I mean, I honestly, I think it's fair. Like if you're bullish, and I mean, like I said, I think 16K is probably the bottom. If I'm wrong on that, we're kind of fucked anyway. Like where do we go? Like 14K, the good old like level that we kept on, like everyone kept on talking about during like the last move. That would start looking kind of shitty. So 20K better hold.
I have a live fact check from the Green Myth. The 2019 move of dominance in March was the move from 3K to 14K. So both of these were Bitcoin pumping like mad. Bitcoin dying was this dominance run, the initial dominance run. The two big pumps were both Bitcoin doing very, very well. Thank you.
Yeah, but the big pumps were coming during a time where it was actually already uptrending, right? Basically, we're coming from like a downtrending move. We like had a downtrending move.
You just said you made castles on a move from 16 to 30K. I don't. What am I missing here?
What do you mean? No, I'm saying like the Bitcoin dominance, right? So basically, those moves, those two like big moves on the dominance chart, they came after the Bitcoin dominance had already moved up. Now we have a different setup where Bitcoin dominance actually walked down and then just went sideways, which to me is more like the bottom in 2018.
I think
but we'll see.
I'm going to disagree with you here again, because I think this level of Bitcoin dominance amidst all of the token inflation and massive amount of stable injection and all that stuff is still extremely impressive. And this is representative of your people internet computer protocol still being worth billions and billions of dollars. You know, like, I find this level of dominance quite impressive in the midst of that. Cred,
yeah, don't disagree with that.
Can you mediate, King Cred?
I cannot adjudicate that debate because I think dominance just kind of sucks.
I don't know what that word means. You're trying to show off your intellect.
No, I think it's a pretty standard word, right? Anyway,
okay.
At least if you go to school here, I guess.
Hold on, let me ask ChatGPT. What
adjudicate? It's the same as like make a decision.
Decision. You could have just said a decision.
Or I could say adjudicate. We're going to play synonyms. You know, Thesaurus is my favorite dinosaur ledger. Anyway.
Oh, God. Okay.
Sorry, I just think, like, I don't know, with dominant stuff, I think altcoin market structure and crypto market structure has changed way too much for it to be like super useful. And also the way that how altcoin trends sort of behave depending on where we are in the market cycle is also different. When you have like sectoral basket pumps versus like scammy one-off rotations, it's so different compared to how it was. I didn't see a ton of signal there a lot of the time personally. Maybe on the big inflection points, it's sort of useful, even though obviously it doesn't account for all the token inflation and new coins, etc. So I don't love it. I don't love it personally. I think in general, this year has shown that the principles we used to follow are still decently accurate. Like, remember, we all expressed massive skepticism about the longevity of the rally if Bitcoin wasn't going to follow. And when Bitcoin did follow, that ended up being a much more sort of long-lasting rally. So I think those kind of base principles from previous market cycles are good. But beyond that, like extrapolating from levels on dominance, etc., I'm far less fond of that. If that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm. It makes total sense. So what do we do?
I guess you're both wrong.
What are our action items, guys?
Action items? I don't know. I feel like I have to ask ChatGPT for that one, Ledger. The AI is consuming. The mind virus is consuming you. I feel like you've had a bit too much fun with it, haven't you?
I have. It's true.
I don't know. Look, if you want to act smart and pretend to be like intelligent and thoughtful as an investor, what you can always do is look at the economic calendar and say, well, look, macroeconomic uncertainty persists. The market is choppy. You make some stuff about options and volatility suppression and correlations. And then you say that on Wednesday, there's FOMC, the presser, and Thursday, ECB, Coinbase, Apple earnings, and Friday, NFP. And you're going to wait for that, wait for confirmation, yada, yada. And then, you sound decently intelligent. So maybe we can get away with that.
You were supposed to put that in the outline, Cred, because 40 minutes in, when we're all done talking about charts and vaguely if it goes up or down, either way, we kind of feel right as a show. Then we talk macro.
But yeah, I mean, to be fair, this show has had a decent enough track record, no thanks to me. But
well, it's because one of us is always going to say one way or the other. So that way the show does great.
That's true, but I feel like we've had some decent banger consensus positions. Less so at the lows. You and I were dumb, and Don was buying. So go figure. But at like 40K BTC with the Luna breakout, and on the way down below 30K, there's been some decent things to write home about. But
there's always Aptos for me. I did call that one.
You did.
Right here.
You did. It was a legendary. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I probably still have it on my chart.
That's probably. You have a tweet on it?
Oh,
no, it's like on his actual chart.
Oh, yeah, you colored on it.
Look I still have it.
Wow.
That's the one. That's the one I get right there.
I need one now. Fuck. Let me make up something outrageous.
Well, the key credit is to not make any money on it.
Oh, trust me, I don't need any training in that one. I can manage that all on my own.
All right. So is Jay Powell speaking to us this week and making Don's correct decision final, or what's the deal? Is there an economic calendar that we need? We need
Oh,
tier
yeah.
10K. Where's DB at?
That's the one I'm reading off my phone at the moment. You know, once all
Okay.
these dating app notifications stop flooding in, I can see
Oh.
my screen. And
You put
Wednesday,
the new picture on?
Yeah, yours, mate. It's been going really well. Your hospital photo. I'm getting all the sympathy likes. It's great.
Post surgery, down 15 pounds and sympathy at the same time.
Exactly. Yeah, you've got 3 dates next week in Alabama. So
No, you're supposed to
Anyway.
do Birmingham, UK.
that's a good one. Yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
don't think I want to take anyone on a date there, mate. No offense. This is going slightly off topic.
All right.
Yes, macro, big week ahead stuff. Wednesday, FOMC, we talked about that. That's probably the most volatility prone one, even though the market hasn't really cared. It's cared less about like macro stuff. FOMC is still pretty big. The smaller inflation and employment ones have been less important, but this might have some market impact, even though 25 basis points seems pretty enshrined as far as these things go. Thursday, ECB is less important because it's Europe and not America, lol, of course. But then maybe Coinbase and Apple earnings, we can get some sort of sense of tech money flows. And then Friday is non-farm payrolls, which I expect will matter less than FOMC. But, there might be one candle that liquidates your account, and that makes it all worth it. So some macro stuff, but yeah, I think it like the S&P looks pretty, better than before, right? I mean, it's trying. I say that the Pico mega micro top of resistance, but it's like the 4th or 5th attempt here. So I think we'll see, volatility in terms of like the price level, but also the news around the same time. Big week is what I'll lead with. On that.
Wow.
Big week,
Holy
big candles,
crap.
big
VIX
margin
is at
calls.
16.
Yeah, VIX is
Melted off.
Yeah.
Absolutely smoked. Rates
Vol
still
sellers.
sideways, doing nothing.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
volatility incoming, Bollinger Band squeezing, eyes peeled, all the usual
go.
adages.
Don, anything to add on these closing thoughts before I bail us out of here?
Yeah, I mean, the S&P, we talked about this for months now, right? I've been saying, I think this is going to range. It's been ranging. I think it's going to continue to range at best. So, I'm not expecting too much out of this. It's almost at resistance, just needs to go a little bit more. And I think then people are going to get super euphoric about the S&P. And I think that's going to go back to kind of nuking for a while. Especially when you look at names like Tesla and stuff, just on the high time frames. I mean, I don't know if you looked at Tesla in a while.
I haven't.
But I mean, that's a shit looking
Zero
chart.
soon.
I think a lot of the stuff has basically completed or is on the way to complete a complacency shoulder. And then you get even if it's bullish, I think you would get a range in here, as in sideways. And I think what we've been seeing, right, and this is at least how I've been trading it, whenever you see Bitcoin shrugging off strength in the traditional markets, it's usually a good sign that it's actually gonna just have a little bit of a go, especially if that happens at support. And whenever Bitcoin is showing weakness against the traditional markets, especially when it's at resistance, you want to be a little bit careful. That's why the last few days, right, when you compare, or the last few weeks even, and when you compare them, it's pretty telling, I think, of kind of where the strength is. And I think if the S&P actually pulls back at all, in any shape or form, we're going to see a massive bloodbath in crypto. So that's kind of what you want to be careful of. If the S&P melts up, right, you're probably going to have good days anyway. So that's kind of where my head's at.
I agree with all your analysis. I just don't think I'm going to follow it.
I love that. I love that
Just say it,
I love that when it's the same for me. Sometimes I have this where I'm I have all of these bearish thoughts. I had this at 16K, right? There were many good reasons to be bearish, and I was but fuck it. But
I think
fucking
yours makes
ball.
for an excellent trade. I just don't think it makes for an excellent investment necessarily.
Yes.
So
we'll see how it goes.
my S&P squiggle is similar to yours, but uglier, and it's the same thing. It's like, just sideways. Nothing really matters here. Breaking that pattern down or up, whichever way. Like let's go back to it. Like if you call this some kind of like head and shoulders-y type of thing, I guarantee you that entire market is trying to make something of that. I'm probably just drawing.
It's Peter Brandt's last pattern.
Yeah. But those, all those macro, like, traditional market traders, they're gonna look at that. They're gonna pay attention to it. In my mind, though, you combine it with the fact of kind of this new high. I just have kept thinking 4,300 is going to get tagged. And it's the same problem I'm facing in Bitcoin, right? Like you're close enough to it that it might as well have been. So why are you waiting on the exact tag? It's cost me quite a lot of money in the past when
same. I've even done some dumb things where like I'll have a level that I think the market's going to reach and it comes close and starts to turn around, and then I'll revenge trade it in the direction of my level because I found it so disrespectful that it didn't actually hit it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Doing dumb stuff like that is very cathartic.
It's no different than when Don was like, no, 114 is the top, and I was like, no, it's going to 120 because candle. And he's like, but what about this candle, which it's already hit, and you're wrong, and I'm early, and then everything went up only for these are months, so 5 or 6 months.
I think you need to make a choice at some point in terms of it's not an easy trade-off. Like you have an area that you think is important. How close is close enough? Because obviously you can't go on forever because you end up in like an infinite regress, right? Like let's say 30K is your level, then 29K. Okay, well 29K is pretty close. And then you go back one. Okay, 28, that's pretty close to 29K, so that's close enough. And you keep going until you're at zero, right? So you need to make a determination at some point whether the relative risk reward is kind of worth it. To hold on to positions, especially if you're like oversized or whatever else. Or as Tom used to say, probably still says, don't be a dick for a tick. And, as long as you bear that in mind.
I mean, that cost me a tremendous amount of money in the DeFi Echo bubble of January and February 2021. Because
make it sound like you're a war veteran, Ledger. That raspy cough and then the DeFi Echo bubble.
That's where I lost my leg. February 9th, 2021 was a dark day.
It's like, why doesn't Grandpa talk about February?
The DeFi grenade after the victorious summer of 2020. But yeah, I can totally see that happening. I can see my net worth dropping in real time as Don celebrates. We all basically agree, though, that the down the line alts, there's not a lot of like narratives we love for those, right? Especially the highly liquid and high value ones.
I mean, unless you like unlocks as a narrative, that's it's pretty much.
If you can get your money out, it's a good price to the seed investor, but not to the retail buyer.
It's just alts seem flimsy for the most part. I mean, even at the moment, I see Bitcoin down 2.5. A lot of these alts down less. That's kind of scary, but we won't talk about that. In any case, alts have seemed just very jittery over the past few weeks, where if Bitcoin sneezes, they take a shit, for lack of a better analogy. And sectorally and narratively and whatever else, there really isn't much going on. It's just kind of musical chairs and pump and dumpy sort of week-long rotations, TA-based, tons of, not a lot of dispersion or logic to it. And we see now we're going quite far out on the curve risk-wise because we're looking at meme coins. I
was trying to find where to even get a PayPay chart, and it's Gate.io. And
I mean, that's a nice trend, right? Like,
it's quite a nice trend. I'm sure this is an excellent buy now.
Not financial advice, not legal advice, not investment advice. Just covering you, Ledger.
Thank you.
If you talk badly about it, they're gonna show up at your house. I'm telling you. It's
your
hilarious.
Castle. At your drawbridge.
It's hilarious because like you can see how people on CT want to talk about it, but also terrified of saying it's not a good time to buy because they're gonna get fucking grilled for it. It's the most hilarious thing ever. Yeah.
What's the market cap of this thing?
It's top 100 now. So
get out, done.
What? No, it's top
It's
100
over.
market cap.
It's
I mean,
over.
yeah. I mean, it's crazy.
Don't add this one to your chart. It's another ledger call.
Listen, it might go
You're the
here.
official archive man of the show, so
I will
Fred,
do it.
it could double from here, but inevitably this is its path. It's gonna go back to zero. Enjoy your wins. People who are in this early or like are locked. I don't know what the rules are on the coin, but whoever sent this is not looking at it like I'm gonna buy more because PayPay is the future. They're quite pleased in all of this zone. So who cares what happens here? Because eventually they're gonna let go. It's just how
what
it
have we
is.
become, Ledger? This used to be us on the other side.
I'm
now.
just saying it's a meme coin. The meme will play out and enjoy the pictures and the paper profits. But there's no way I'm touching this thing.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way anyone sane buys this. That's why it has like the potential to 5x, but also this is gonna be down like 80% at some point. The thing is, like saying that, like if it 5x's from here and then goes down 80%, it's still gonna like be at a respectful level.
Sure, but it's also still gonna like whoever it is out there that's just like, oh man, should I pull the trigger on this? When you do, that's when it'll go down. Okay, that's all you got to know. When you do, it's over. Like it's just I would not do this. You're welcome to rebuy and counter trade me and whatever else and get your 50%. And I'm sure like, Loma or somebody's making millions on this on 10-minute candles or something. That's fine. It's just not for me. And if you're looking at the grand scheme of things, when money is easy, this is not easy. This is hard. This is mercenary crap. Not everything goes up after Bitcoin and ETH have run and all that kind of stuff. This is, you want to play black or red type of material, except for you're really on double zeros or something,
And there are no rebates.
No rebates.
You're not Gainsey.
You're not getting the Rollbit buyback scam, whatever that is that Gainsey's doing, and somehow making money even though he's losing it perpetually. I don't really understand it, but I cheer him on, and I cheer you too, PayPay holder, who's up heavily and gonna clip this and say we're going to infinity because Ledger's fading us. You might make life-changing money, and I'm happy for you. You probably already did. Enjoy it, have fun, whatever. But if you ain't on this train, I wouldn't be jumping on it. That's my 2 cents.
No, I actually agree with you like wholeheartedly there. I don't think it's necessarily a smart play. But then again, like if you think this turns into bull market, top 100 market cap isn't actually that big, right? For something retarded like this. I mean, we saw Dogecoin run up.
Don, this show was basically PG-13.
With me on the show? No, never.
Yeah,
I must have said some other shit. But basically, like if you think that we're gonna go into straight up bull market again, be my guest. At that point, like buying something like this after a million X is something that you could technically do. If you don't think that's the case, which I think is the more reasonable take, right? Like if you don't think we're going to 100K on Bitcoin in the next year, I mean, then might be time to be a little bit careful on this front. But honestly, I couldn't care less at the end of the day. Like people just trade this shit and they're going to lose money or they're going to make money. I just know it's not a market for me. And I've been like, people have been adding me on Twitter being like, Don is coping for missing on Pepe. And I'm like, dude, there's just no way that I'm ever going to buy this. Like no matter the price, like I really couldn't care less. It's like saying like, I'm missing, like I'm coping for whatever, like not buying an airplane. Like I'm probably not gonna buy an airplane, like
just a castle.
What?
Just a castle. All right, we've boiled this frog. Craig, can you close us out and get us out
No,
of here?
I'm speechless. Let's get out of here. See you next week. Castles, planes, everyone's welcome.
Don, you need a helicopter for your castle.
Oh,
Planes
no,
need
no.
runways, and your castle is almost guaranteed to be on top of a hill. So come on, man, get it together. Thanks for being here.
Trump.
We appreciate y'all for joining us. Weekly Open. Like and subscribe on YouTube, whatever. Clip this and send it to all your friends for how you're going to make more millions on these coins. Take it easy. Bye-bye.